Hey there, I'm St-Pierre and you're listening to Go Podcast. Today I'm flying solo and I talk about the usage of plugins in StaticBackend. Hello Gophers, it will be another solo episode this week. I wanted to talk a little bit about something I worked recently in StaticBackend. So first of all, I restarted active development on StaticBackend. So if you don't really know, StaticBackend is a project, an open source project I started in early 2020 or late 2019, basically. And at first, I thought it was going to be a commercial product, and changed my mind at some point because I was not getting traction at all in that way. So I open sourced it and still wanted to see if I could do some managed hosting for the service and whatnot. But even that did not really work. So it led me to start looking for founding and whatnot, because in this space there is well-funded competitors. It's pretty hard to compete sometimes when a competitor got 130 millions in funding and whatnot. So, and by the way, I'm talking about Supabase. I had a couple of talk with the founder actually, and on email and whatnot. He knew about StaticBackend. And he even told me that how I implemented the security is really it's better than what they have. So those are his words, not mine. But after failing at also trying to find some founding, I was still reaching the version up and still maintaining the project. There has been some really nice contributions from the community as well. But at some point it was getting very difficult with all those failures in mind and whatnot, and even the usage itself. So even though there has been some small contributions here and there, and the occasional people talking to me and whatnot, I mean, I still don't really know exactly if anyone were using it. I was using it, but yeah, I mean after 1 year of inactivity per se, I started to miss and really miss working on this project. So I really like it. And I decided to restart active development. And this time, there's no commercial, there's no funding, there's no any path. So it's a 100% free and open source project. So I'm going to even change the website and it will just be the documentation. So you will go to staticbackend.com and boom, there's no mention of anything that could let people think that there is a commercial path or avenue behind this. It's directly the documentation that will load. It's not live yet. I'm working on it. I'm working on rewriting all the documentation. But long story short, one aspect that I always wanted to improve with StaticBackend. So basically, what it is exactly, it's a backend API. So imagine that you want to build a new web application, for example, and you don't really know if your idea is going to work or anything like that. So you don't really want to put too many time trying to architect the best web application. You just want something out there. So this project is helping with that, because there's a lot of building blocks that can be used right away. So it's a backend API written in Go, of course, that offers things like authentication, authorization, a full CRUD and queries and full text search capabilities out of the box. There is file upload, file storage. There's a way to do event driven. So you are building a monolith in a sense. So if you think of a way to build a monolith but without having to write one line of backend API, this is it. And I know, I'm also I'm a backend API first person. This is where I like to be. But sometimes it's also true that in my life I want to put ideas out there. I don't know if people are going to like them or not. And when I need to do that, I don't want to handle, all the middlewares myself. I don't want to rewrite the code that I've been writing for the last 20 years and, of my careers. So if I can skip writing the authentication for this specific idea that I just want to know if there's going to have some traction after, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, then static backend is really where it can be extremely helpful. I built it for myself, so this is how I used it. So I launched basically 2 or maybe 3 SaaS in the last 4 years with this. So again, in terms of local development, you basically download a CLI which have a fully functional backend server without you having to bring up some Postgres or any kind of database or Redis and things like that. It's all in memory when you're developing. So you just download the CLI, you run backend server, and boom, you have your development server with everything that the production server is also offering. So all the real-time capabilities, all the full text search. So it's interesting. It's different. It's a little bit similar to what things like Django and Rails could be on those languages, but for Go, but not really. And it's also very different, because it lets you know that your backend is in Go, but you don't really need to write any kind of code. And if you want, you can still have another small web server on the side with Go and use the Go client library as well. So this is totally possible, and I've done that as well. So the idea of static backend is that you can have it manage multiple of your ideas. So all the common building blocks that it's handling, all the component that it's handling, and you can host multiple web application from a single instance, if you will. So it's a multi-tenant application. So all of your web application will be a tenant in there. They will have their set of account and users and whatnot. So you may build a Go servers that is accompanying, in addition to what static backend is offering. So one aspect that I wanted to improve for a long time is the size of this binary. It was 170 megabytes. Which is, it was a Go binary, so it was pretty huge, and there was multiple reasons for that, and this is a topic of the episode of today, because how do you trim fat, if you will, on the Go binary? It's not like we have a lot of option here. Obviously, it's certainly not your code. So static backend is about 18,000 line of code, so it's certainly not that is taking the most disk space on this binary, of course. So it has to be your dependencies, but which one? So I stumbled on a tool called Go Size Analyzer, which was interesting. I mean, it kind of tells you the percentage of space that a dependency is taking. And I had my I was pretty sure I was knowing what it was, but I wanted to be sure. And this tool is great because now you see all of the dependencies. And turns out, just a side note, the AWS SDK seems to be crazy big. I mean, how big this thing needs to be. So now, when I just ran the tool, the Go Size Analyzer, I saw that the now that I've removed my biggest dependencies from there, the next one in line is the AWS SDK. So I'm just using the storage part. So I mean, yeah, I will need to remove that. This is my next target, but I'm diverging a little bit. So returning to this CLI. So the CLI, so the local development server, is available via npm as well as Go install. Of course, it's a normal Go binary. In fact, so it's a Cobra CLI application, but one of the feature that StaticBackend was implementing was a way for someone that is building a web application to say, you know what, I will need to have some HTML turned into PDF at some point. So that was one of the feature that I'm kind of usually needing in an application, and nobody was doing that. So I said, this is still a common-ish use case if you think about that. But the problem is I'm using Chrome DP for that. So if you are not familiar with Chrome DP is a package, a Go package that allows you to automate the Chromium browser. So you basically are able to load the page and do lots of things. You can scrape a little bit of data here and there. You can have some CSS selectors and all sort of selectors and try to inspect the DOM elements and whatnot. In my case, I'm basically just loading some page and rendering that to PDF. So this is something that you can do. It's all offered via the Chromium. So since you can do a file print to PDF in your browser, so you are basically leveraging this functionality in a sense. The problem is the Chrome DP kind of embed its own version of Chromium inside or something like that. I mean, and I knew that it was not going to be as popular as, CRUD operation in database. So maybe it was time to think a little bit about how can StaticBackend starts to offer, less common features without bundling them into the binary. So kind of an opt-in scenario here. And, you're probably seeing me coming, and the plugin package of Go was something I wanted to use for a very, very long time. So I've always been kind of interested, or I like the fact that an application can load some pieces of functionality at runtime, and it's seamlessly executed in the same the same address spacing and the same memory, if you will, space as the main process. So there's basically not really a huge penalty for you to doing that, and the Go plugin package is something that is offering that for us. I've never really played around with it because I to be completely frank, I was not really having this need before, but now, as soon as I removed the Chrome DP dependencies from the CLI went from 170 megabyte to about 60 megabytes. So it was kind of 110 megabyte just for this. And just an aside, so my next target is probably going to be like the AWS, which is taking like 5% of the space. So it's not much. It's like, maybe 3 or 4 megabytes, but still, I mean, 3 megabytes for dependencies that you're using just a tiny bit. So that brings me the question now, when we are building, our application. So I suppose that the compiler is not doing any kind of removal of dependent, I don't know, types or files, maybe entire files and things like that we are not using. So it's probably bundling all of the dependencies as it is. So it just seems to be interesting. Could there be any kind of something similar to a tree shaking in JavaScript, where you are just bringing your required dependencies? I've never really interested myself, to be frank, to the deep down details of the Go compiler. But now that I've seen that, I'm a little bit interested to see. I mean, wow, could there be something? In the long run, is it something that they are thinking? I don't know. But again, continuing with my story. So once I removed these dependencies, I was like, well, yeah, you know what, 60 megabyte is a little bit more acceptable. So it's still very big. So why is that? So I'm, static backend is like an event-based server monolith that you can use. It can be deployed on multiple instances. So that don't. It's something that I wanted from day one. I wanted to let people have one instance and have a great experience, and also if they need to scale a little bit, let's unpack that because we need a little bit more information here. But if for some reason someone needs to go to 2 or 3 instances, then it's possible to do that. So there is inter-process communication, and it's not using gRPC. But it's possible to scale. So that's why I'm thinking of static backend as, yes, it's kind of a prototype, something that helps you build an MVP or V1, but it also can reach like 20,000 concurrent user easily. I mean, so it will not be your first problem if you have some success, for sure. So even though it's kind of a low code, I won't say prototype builder. It's really something that can help launch a V1 very quickly, but it can also be there until your V3 for instance. So but yeah, I mean, this is that, and I do have some other dependencies, like I was saying. So there's I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it should be Goja probably. So Goga, which is a JavaScript runtime basically. And I'm having, so I always wanted to have static backend as a, like I was saying, if there is one instance being used, you can still publish and subscribe to events all over the system. So events that the developer that wants to publish and subscribe to, and as well as system event. And what are system events? Well, they could be all the database CRUD, well, not CRUD, but like create, update, and delete events. There's a couple of built-in events that can be triggered, and when they are triggered, they can either call a URL. So if you want to have your own handler for that, then it's possible. You can just said, when this happened, call this URL, but you can also run a what I call a server-side function. So server-side function are just JavaScript, very tiny piece of it. It's basically one function which is called handle, and this thing is receiving the HTTP response body. There's the HTTP headers, and there's a third parameter which for some reason I'm kind of forgetting at the moment. But the point is that you can build you can build an event system inside this tiny server without complication, without anything. So you just create a function and you receive the proper parameter, and from there you can just do anything that you want with the system. You can write data, you can read data, you can upload files and things like that, and you are inside a super simple server-side function. And yes, it's sad that it's only in JavaScript. I'm currently inspecting, or at least exploring, if it could be possible to write that into something else. Go could be extremely nice. I'm looking at maybe having a WASM runner at some point. So server-side function could be just build in most any kind of languages, as long as they output to WebAssembly, and the binary could be executed inside a runner. But yeah, I'm not there yet. So this runtime is also taking some kind of place, but I cannot do much about that. So there will have dependencies that you have to keep there for sure. But yeah, I mean, the plugin the plugin package from the Go library is very simple, really nice to play with. It seems to be only working on Linux and Mac though, so that might be a huge downside. So maybe in my case as well. I'm not sure if if there is some people that is using Windows to develop, probably they won't be able to load this plugin. So basically, when you are building a plugin, you just pass a build mode parameter to the go build command, and you say, you know what, this is going to be a plugin. So create a file that can be loaded at runtime in your main program. And this mechanism, maybe it's the file that gets built, or I don't know what exactly is not compatible with Windows, but yeah, this won't work. But anyway, for people in using Windows, you should probably investigate to run your development things in WSL anyway. It's very I think it's better. I needed to switch to Windows a couple of years ago due to I needed to start using a screen reader daily and whatnot. And I was using first I was using Arch Linux for a long time, and at some point after 3 or 4 years I had some issues, and I said, you know what, I screw that. I will just go with my old friend Debian, which is always has been very stable for me, and I ran for multiple years without any issues. In fact, this machine is still up. So kudos to Debian, but I'm still diverging. The first thing I did when I needed to switch to Windows was to make sure I was going to pass the 80 to 95% of my time on WSL, because this is where I am familiar and I like to be. So yes, the plugin, if you haven't looked at that, it's interesting for sure. It could be tedious if you are planning to use that, and you are thinking about doing a lot of how can I say that? Data passing between your main program and the plugin. This might not be very comfortable, because even though they are two separate Go binaries, if you will. So your main program is calling is directly opening this thing. You cannot easily share types between the two. So you can export types from your plugin and functions and variable and things like that, but you will still need to have them defined on your main program. So in my case, it's not very a problem, because I'm basically just passing slice of bytes. I found that it really worked well for my use case, and also was kind of the simplest thing to do. So basically, when I'm calling a function, so in our case, if you recall, the function in question that I was trying to remove from the main Go binary was having a URL converted to a PDF file. So yeah, I'm using some kind of byte slice to communicate. So back and forth. So basically, I'm passing the response body directly, and I'm casting that, or at least the JSON unmarshal that into something that the plugins knows about. It does its thing, convert to PDF, and return the PDF bytes, if you will, to the caller, and boom, that's it. I mean, it's working. It's nice. And of course, I mean, for people that wants to use this, they will still have roughly the same amount of binary size, because now you need to bring this plugin, the binary, along with the main program binary. So if you are going to deploy a static backend on a server, for example, and you need this functionality, then on your server you will have the backend binary as well as the plugins. But since it was very easy to do, it opens it opens a nice, at least possibilities for me from the future to say things like, what, this thing is not really common enough that it should be part of the core of static backend core, but it can certainly live into its own opt-in extension. If people want it, then they just bring the plugin. If they don't want it, then they just don't. So yes, I think it's nice. I was really enjoying discovering this package, because I wanted to play around for a long time. I recall that I think in C# there was something very great about plugins, but now it's been so many years, like 10 or 15 years, that I'm not really recalling exactly, but I think this is something fairly common, or at least you will encounter that once or twice in your career, that a plugin system is really what you are looking for. So if you haven't checked it out and you need that, then by all means, if you want to to contribute a little bit in a Go project, I mean, join me with Static Backend. It's very friendly out there. There's already a couple of people that did some contribution. I have started to recreate some kind of roadmap and whatnot. I mean, it's a cool project. I think it's still fairly small-ish. There's a lot of cleanup to be done, but there's a decent amount of unit tests. The application works. I used it 2 or 3 times in production myself. But is it super friendly and things like that? No, not really. But I'm rewriting the documentation. So I mean, yeah, if you are looking for some fun, a little bit, join me. There's the discussion tab on GitHub. I'm trying to revive this project. I really I really missed working on it. It's nice. So on that, take care. All right, that's it for this week. I would really appreciate if you can talk or share about this podcast. It's always helpful. Also, another way to support this show is by purchasing my course. There's always a link in the show notes. So on that, see you next week.